Hello, everybody, and welcome to another broadcast of Adults Only. I'm Jahi, and that brother you see there is Chazz. We've been gone for a while, but we had a lot of things we had to do. Had a big play that came up, and now that it's over with, we're back in business again. So what you up to, Chazz? How you been doing?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. It does seem like we've been on like a long vacation, man. It's a pleasure to be back. And oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I always give you credit when you do the previous show because I know you always be complaining about how you tired. Yesterday was a fantastic show with you and brother Kevin on the Kevin Josh show. So I
Yeah.
always give you credit when you do a back to back.
Yeah, so it's been a minute. So, I kind of got a lot of rest and I was ready to go. I'm ready for the night because the subject that we have tonight is something that we have to take our time and talk about because we're going to be talking about taking responsibility in the African American community. So we got to look at that word responsibility and we have to talk about it from the standpoint of what it is. Is that a word that we're afraid of? I mean, why is it that we talking about taking responsibility in 2025 when you would think many African Americans should know that responsibility is a must for us? Would you agree?
Agree 1,000%. And a lot of us don't want to take responsibility because we're afraid. We don't like for blame to be put on us. We don't like to even look bad when things don't go a certain way. But like you said, we need to start taking responsibility, especially in the Black community.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those downfalls for us. It's like we don't like to talk about the things that are important. And responsibility should be one of the aspects of life that we harp on because a lot of us, like you say, we shun from it. We don't take it and we don't like to have these types of serious discussions. But I just think it's time for all of us to grow up, Chaz. I think we need to face the music and be honest about most of us, even as adults, we act like little children. Even in my own life, I have to critique my own self because many instances, instead of me acting like a grown, mature man, I act like a little baby. So I'm taking the same medicine that we're talking about because of my lack of responsibility. So having said that, I want you to define responsibilities in the context of what you and I are talking about.
Responsibilities mean doing what you're supposed to do. I'm sorry, mean doing what you're supposed to do to better yourself.
Yeah, and that's important because before we talk about taking responsibility in the African American community, we got to talk about ourselves. See, we put the cart before the horse, Chaz, and many times we like to take or talk about the community, and we should, but then we have to start with us before we can talk about a community. So maybe today, let's just focus on what we got to do, as you just mentioned, to better ourselves. And then we can talk about the community. And I really believe, and I'm going to turn it over to you, but I really believe that that's one of the reasons that we're in the condition we're in now is because we don't want to better ourselves, Chaz. We want to talk about everybody else, but we don't want to look internally and then do something about what we see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And like you said, especially when it's us, I think a lot of us, we want to be praised 24/7. We want everybody to always give us a pat on the back. We don't like any kind of constructive criticism. And like you said, anything to better ourselves, sometimes we shun that. So it's just a thing that we all need to be self-aware of. And when we find ourselves slipping, just make a mental note of that and say, you know what? These are things I do need to improve of. Everybody's not hating on me. Everybody's not out to get me. They are giving me constructive criticism. So this is something I need to improve in.
Okay, let's say hello to those who have joined us and we'll get right into our notes.
Sister Mashonda fires in here. She says, hello, brothers. We appreciate her for logging in. Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, Hotep brothers. We appreciate her.
Okay, so let's talk about this here, Chaz. What is this saying here?
Reasons why some African Americans don't try to better ourselves.
All right, here we go.
Number one, low self-confidence, not believing in our own abilities, especially if you grew up in the Black community. Not all, but some of our parents, they criticized us, said we ain't gonna be anything, talked about how terrible we want to be as adults, people in our family criticizing us, and just taking that throughout the years, getting beat down every other day, people making fun of you, teasing you, making all these negative comments about you. It wears on your self-esteem. So you say, you know what? I am nothing. Maybe these people are right. Maybe there is something wrong with me. So you know what? I just see myself as a piece of garbage. So this is just who I think I am. And that's what I think that's going on when we're not believing in our own abilities.
And this is why we can't take responsibility, because our confidence and our esteem, like you said, it has been put down so low, lower than a worm, lower than any kind of insect or animal. And then it has messed us up to the degree that now we don't even believe in ourselves. And now we're saying, I can't do anything. I don't feel like I'm worth anything. And that has
Wow.
crushed a lot of us. And the African American community, many of us are like this, but we don't see it because we're living under a false pretense. We want people to think that our lives are grandiose. Our children are struggling. Our grandchildren are suffering. And instead of us being mature adults and saying, hey, I have no reason to have low self-confidence, no matter what happened to me growing up.
Right.
We wear that thing, and basically it gets the best of us, and we end up turning into people that we really shouldn't be.
Number two, a lack of guidance, not having the right positive people around them, especially when you don't have the right role models. Like you said, people who in your family, the household, at school, if you're still in school, in college, if you're still in college, when you don't have the right people around you and they're, like I said, feeding you negativity, criticizing you, just not giving you the things that you need, or even helping, giving some positive feedback saying, brother or sister, I see you slipping in this area. This is a tip, or here's a pointer that I can point you in to help, better yourself. When you don't have that around you, you start to self-destruct. And that's a point that you do not want to get to.
And I want to put something in here, Chazz, that you and I, we probably overlooked it. So I want to insert this in, because a lot of us don't have responsibility, nor will we take responsibility because of this lack of guidance. And we say not having the right positive people around us. And I'm not so much talking about people physically.
Okay.
Social media, those people are around us.
Yeah.
The television, the music we listen to,
Yeah.
that has came into many of our hearts, and it has guided us in the wrong direction.
Wow.
And so this is not positive, it's negative. But we see that these comedians that's always talking about other people, it's like little kids, like, little bitty girls and little bitty boys, always beefing, looking for trouble, can't do anything unless there's some type of conflict. So we have lost guidance, and we don't have the right people around us. And even those people that are around us, those physical people, now we can say a lot of them, Chazz, we have no business allowing those people in our lives to influence us the way we do.
Let me ask you this. This is kind of separate, but like you just mentioned about our mind frame. Now, when you watch TV or movies, that's not real. These are actors or video games or whatever you're watching. How come we can't compartmentalize it? For example, like you mentioned, on social media, some of the people that you see on there aren't any good. Even if you are watching them, why can't us as adults compartmentalize and say, you know what, this is what they believe or this is what they want to do? I may still watch them, but I don't have to subscribe to everything that they're saying. Why can't I think for myself, basically?
Well, because many of us, we fall in love with that person's character, their personality. See, we don't really know these people, but if we grow up with them, watching them in movies and in sitcoms, we begin to think that we actually know them. And so we fall for them. And as you mentioned earlier about Brother Kevin and I, not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, the first Tuesday of next month, we're going to do a broadcast that's going to make many people angry. And it goes right to what you're saying. And that is, many of us have fallen in love with these actors and actresses, these celebrities, these sports figures, and we actually think we know them. But because we have given them our allegiance, we don't take responsibility in the African American community, because when they do something wrong, instead of us saying, we saw you with your hand in the cookie jar, we defend them because we love them so much. And this shows a sign of sickness. Yeah. And that's why we don't have the guidance that we need.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3, distractions, being pulled away by negative influences or habits. And these are a lot of distractions. Like you said, the friends, some of our relatives, social media, for example, drugs, alcohol, all these things that could pull us away from our purpose. Even some of the things that we're watching on TV constantly, these could all be distractions to where you're supposed to be doing one thing, but these other things in front of you have you so addicted that you can't really accomplish what you're supposed to because you're distracted by A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, and these distractions are basically, we allow these things to take our minds off of what they should be. We should all be all about growth. We should be about maturing every day, learning. We should be about knowledge. We should be about insight. We should be about warning people, looking at what's going on in our communities, in our own lives, in our families. But like you said, we're distracted because those influences and habits have done us a disservice. And this is why taking responsibility in our own lives is something that has escaped us. And this is a very serious subject that we're talking about. But again, a lot of us don't want to talk about responsibility because we're not responsible our own selves, Chazz. And that's what's really going on.
Yeah, and I'll say about myself too. At times, there are a lot of areas that we're not responsible in, but we just need to tighten up. Sister Marie Fire's in here. She says, "Hotep family, we appreciate her for logging in as well."
And I want to say this too, Chazz, about these distractions. You know, a lot of us, Chazz, we try to deflect. In other words, we know that we should be doing more than we should as far as taking responsibilities. But we deflect off of our responsibilities, and we always have something else going on. It's like we talked about the guy that turns the light off in the room because he doesn't want to be seen and he hides. And, you know, he stays in the dark and all he does is talk. So he does things in the dark because he doesn't want you to turn the light on, and she doesn't want you to turn the light on, because once you turn the light on, you're going to see them for who they are. Right. And a lot of us are living in darkness because we do not want to own up to our responsibilities.
Number 4, past trauma. Bad experiences that hold them back. Now, this could be something that we can expand on for the rest of the show. We've all had trauma, and especially we let these things fester in us, build in us. We dwell on it. We don't let it go. We're constantly talking about it. Things that have happened to us 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, which I'm not going to act like it's something you should sweep under the rug. Yes, it's terrible. Yes, it's awful. But we keep letting these things hold us back where we can't even look forward. This is something that happened to us, like I said, 8 years ago. We're still acting like it happened yesterday. We're afraid to move forward. In fact, we're in love with our trauma. We boast in it. We put our chest out to it. Wow. So this trauma is something, like you said, we're afraid to take the next step because of these negative experiences that we do not want to let go of.
And how sick is that, what we're saying? When a person has had something happen to them in the past, and now they can't be responsible because the past still has a hold on their minds. The past still has a hold on their hearts. The past still has a hold on their emotions. So what you have is a person who is mentally sick. And we don't want to talk like this, but many of us, I should say, we can't take responsibilities in our community because we're not taking responsibilities in our own lives. Wow. And so this is why every time you see them, it's the same old thing. Something happened to them, or somebody reminds them of something that happened to them, and they struggle. And the sad thing about it is they're going to leave this world with that past trauma that has haunted them until they close their eyes. And that, my friend, is really, really that's not even good. That's not good at all.
It's not. It's really not. And like I said, for the people who have had past trauma happen to them, we're not making fun of it. We're not making light of it. We're just saying you have to accept what happened and try to move on instead of keep dwelling in that for years and years. Number 5, procrastination. Putting on self-improvement. And we all have that. And it starts off with, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes to, I'll do it next week. Next week comes to, I'll do it from 2 weeks from now, a month from now, a year from now. And then it never gets done. And some of us are afraid to take these steps because we feel like something's going to go wrong, or it's not going to work out the way we want it to be, or it's not going to pan out the way we want it to, where you have to sometimes take these steps to get better, because procrastinating is not going to do anything. You're going to be in the same spot and nothing is ever going to change. So if you want to self-improve, you have to try to do the best you can and quit putting it off, because eventually, normally 90% of the time when you procrastinate, it never gets done at all.
And that's a problem when you think about it, because when you talk about taking responsibility, if we're procrastinating, then we're never going to be responsible. And that's one of the pitfalls and downfalls that you see many of us have. It's just that we don't want to do anything about ourselves. Now, I like to sit here and talk about you and talk about everybody else and what they should do. I'm always pointing my fingers at other people. I'm always looking at somebody else's front and backyard. I'm always complaining about what other people are doing. But because I am not a responsible man, then I'm going to continue to procrastinate. And if you look at our ages, and if we're honest with ourselves, many of us are too old numerically to be acting the way we act. And the reason that we act that way is because we don't look into the self and improve it or try. We always talk about we're working on the self, but we're really not working on the self because we're not taking responsibility. A responsible person looks at their own life and deals with their own issues first. Then they go out and try to do something about the community. But that's why our communities are falling apart, because a lot of us are doing that.
Wow. Sister Nikita fires in here. She said, hello, family. Hey, Sister Nikita, thanks for logging in. But that was sad what you just said about you said our communities are falling apart. We have to try to, keep those communities, because when those go to crap and when those go down the toilet or down the drain or down the sewer, you in a real, real bad spot at that point. Number 6, negative environment. Being around people who don't encourage growth. Yeah, and some of them take you the opposite way. They'll see you trying to get better. They'll see you trying to improve. And they'll say, oh, man, what you think you too good for this now? Or you think you better than me now? And it's not about that. There are some people who are trying to improve. And just being around people who never have anything good to say, always got something negative to say. They never want to see you win. They never want to see you get better. And it's always the negative. When you tell them you're doing something, oh, bro, that ain't going to work. Oh, girl, that ain't going to work. It's just people who don't want to see you elevate because they are so ignorant. They think that you're trying to be better than them when you're not, when all you're trying to do is improve yourself.
And how hypocritical is this, what I'm about to say? The hypocrisy comes in this. Many of us know some of the people that we hang around are no good for us. We know that. That is what is called a given. But we find these people, and these people are the negative influence and the negative environment. And because we grew up with them, and some of them are in our family, and we don't want to cut ties with them. And this is why we're not responsible, many of us. And this is why these types of broadcasts that tries to encourage people to not be like this are not well received. And this is why a lot of us don't take responsibility in the community, because we're not responsible for ourselves. And these are the very things that we should be looking at as individuals to say, hey, I got to cut away all that negativity. But a lot of times, Chazz, we look for those negative people because all we know, and we don't know how to cut ties with that which is not going to help us be responsible people. And lastly, we don't want no one telling us, you need to be responsible. See, we run from them people, but people that don't challenge us, people that don't talk to us, that's why people like to go to church. That's why people like to go to the mass. That's why people like to go to those spiritual meetings, because in those meetings, Chazz, if you notice, it's always the same language. You're good. Somebody did something for you. You don't have to worry about it. Somebody paid the price. Somebody did something for you. You're a great person. All you got to do is close your eyes and meditate. But the reality is, when you get through it, all of that, we are some of the most irresponsible people. Some of us are. And we don't like this kind of language because we say that's hardcore. But yet this is what we need when we talk about 2025. And most of us, as old as we are, we're sad, man.
Sister Nikita fires in here. She says, yes, negative people bring down the community. A lot of people just talk, but there's no action. That is absolutely well said. We talk a good game, but won't back it up. We bark loud, and we have people afraid of us, intimidated. But when you get closer to the bark, you see it's a little chihuahua that's not going to do anything. So this is something that she said that's well said. And we appreciate Sister Nikita for commenting on that.
And I want in on that too, Chazz. I mean, I want in on that too. I don't want you to have that by yourself. I want a little bit of this. She's absolutely correct. Negative people bring down the community. Just look around us. Everywhere you go, even those who we consider as close friends and family members. If you really look at our lives, many of us are so negative. And this is what is called the oxymoron.
Okay.
Many of us claim to really know something or someone or some divine nature that is the most powerful, the most creative, but yet it doesn't show and reflect in our lives.
Yeah.
And this is why, like she said, the last part of it, a lot of us talk, but we're not going to do anything, Chazz, because a lot of us, I'm going to say this now, Chazz, and we may lose some friends, we may lose some viewers, but I got to be honest tonight.
Okay.
A lot of us are sick. We're irresponsible. We're little boys. We're little girls. And we don't want to say, I have to do a better job because that makes us feel a certain way. So she's right about that comment.
It's just Nikita fires in here again. She also comments and says, I cut many off in my mom's family. They were negative and toxic. Wow. And to that I say, she says, I feel free now. To that I say, Sister Nikita, you have to be strong to do that, because a lot of us, like we just mentioned, we hold on to a lot of these family members that are no good. But to finally pull the plug and say, you know what? Enough. That's it. I'm not doing this anymore. I love you, kinfolk or whoever you are in the family. I'm just not going to be communicating with you anymore. And it's not that you think that you're better. You just seen the toxicity throughout the years. You see it's not getting you anywhere or getting any better, and you just cut it off. So to that, Sister Nikita, you strong for doing that. And we hope that more people start doing that, have the guts to do that as well.
And I want to say something about what she just put on the screen now. This is a beautiful saying when she says, I feel free now. In other words, she was irresponsible because she allowed them to take her through the mud. When she came to her senses, she cut them loose in her own family. And once she cut them loose, that's taking responsibility. And now that she's taken responsibility, she says, I feel free now. So this is what we're saying. We as a people have got to be honest with ourselves. And I applaud a sister like that, because I know it's tough when your own family and your own friends, when you have to disassociate with them because they're not responsible people. And so once again, I thank her for being honest, but at the same time, Chazz, before we can talk about taking responsibility in the African-American community, we've got to deal with ourselves. And I think that's one of the hindrances that's stopping us.
Hey, what's going on here? Brother Ray fires in here. He says Black Power. What's going on, Brother Ray? Sister Nikita comments and she says yes. Okay. And Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, and if we're not on our posts, we will allow people who come at us to suck us up and draw us right back into it. I cut ties with them who come at me with the dumb stuff, family and all.
Yeah. That's
I'll let you take that and I'll piggyback.
Yeah, because I want to do a word play on what she said. I agree with her 100%, but here's the word play. She says, and if we're not on our post. Now I'm gonna take a word play, the word post. I think we are on our post. We post on social media. Now I know she's not saying that, but I'm taking that word post and I'm playing word games with that word post. But we are on our post. That's the problem. We post every day. We post every night. We post when we got a finger scratch or something. We post when we change socks. We post when we change drawers.
No!
We post when we eat. We post when we sleep. We post when we fart. We post, we post, and see, that's irresponsibility. Now, there's nothing wrong with using the social media the way it should be used.
Right.
But we're too much on our posts. But in fairness to what she's saying we're not on our posts, and we're not. We allow people to come at us and do us that way, and that's what happens when you have a mindset that's so used to that negativity and not being responsible. You get drawn back in it. So I was having a little fun with what she's saying.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback real quick on what she means on our post. From my perspective, I'll say where we're supposed to be in a certain area. You were assigned to this area, but you got your butt out. You seen somebody that you know, you across the street, you were supposed to be in a certain area, and now you're running your mouth. Things are happening at the area that you're supposed to be at. It's chaos, it's drama, all kind of negative stuff going on. And like she said, family and all, she's telling you up front and straightforward, family or not, I'm done with it.
Well,
so
Chazz,
shout out to her too.
I'm so glad that you are a man and that you are conscious of what we're talking about, and that you're not holding back, and that you're not biting your tongue. You're not kowtowing and bowing down, because we have a problem The problem is all over the world, but in our communities and in our families, many of us aren't responsible because of what we're talking about. But I really believe that we have to have these discussions because, again, before we can talk about the bottom part that says taking responsibility in the African American community, we'll talk about that next week. We've got to take care of our own lives first. We got to we want to save the world. We want to fly all over the country trying to make people think we're more than we are. But the bottom line is, until we deal with our own selves, Chazz, we're going to continue to have the issues that we have, and that shows a sign of irresponsibility.
Number 7, lack of parental support. Parents not guiding or pushing them to grow. Now, this one is tough. And I'm not trying to be funny here, but for an adult who's had a child, let's say in your 40s or 50s, you see this child struggling. You see this child going through things at school, at home, when they're going out in the grocery stores, all kind of chaos and stuff is happening. You mean to tell me you don't have enough decency to say, you know what? Let me support my child that's struggling. Let me support my child that's slipping. Let me support my child that's just going through it. And you just turn the other cheek, or you say they'll figure it out. That's going to make them tougher. No, you have to explain to them, especially when they're young, because here's the catch to it. When they're young and innocent, if you don't catch it then, when they grow up, it's going to be out of control. So at least if you can catch it when they're young, you can somewhat get a jump on it. But to sit back and ignore it, or hope that the teachers, or hope that the people at school are constantly correct it, that's just asking for trouble. But you have to be I'm going to just say it. You got to be a sorry parent to not correct your kid when you see that they're struggling. And I had to say that.
Well, and I'm glad you did, because when you go back to contextually and talk about taking responsibility, any parent that doesn't teach their child what responsibility is low. It is lower than a worm. It's lower than an ant. It's lower than a snake crawling on its belly, because that's the function of a parent. That's the role of a parent. But instead of teaching the responsibility, we just give them cell phones, we give them iPads, we give them games, we give them everything but what they need. And then we wonder when they become adults why they're not responsible. So this is a lack of parental support. Parents are not guiding or pushing their children to grow. That's very problematic, but we don't talk about that, Chazz. We always talk about the parents doing other things, but yet we don't talk about how any parent that has a child, that's one of the first teachings that child should get as that child comes to a knowledge of understanding is teach them how to be responsible. Teach them to make up their bed. Teach them how to love people. Teach them that sometimes things are not going to always go well, but you're going to have to be able to bounce back. Teach them what they need to know. Teach them about love. Teach them about life. Teach them as much as you can, but we don't teach them. All we do is give them, because this is what we say. I want my kids to know, to have rather, more than what I've had. That's not saying a lot. You can give them things, but see, we don't want to give them what you and I are talking about, and what we're talking about is responsibility.
Here's the sad part, and I hate to keep going back on social media, because social media does have some positive attributes, but for the most part, it seems it's more negative. These kids, figuratively, now I don't mean that these are their real parents, but I'm saying their parents are on social media. Not their biological parents, but all the people that they follow, all the people on their pages that they're listening to and sucking up content, listening to. This is their parents, and whatever they're telling them, they're constantly doing it. And their minds are so fragile, they think it's okay. So it's like their parents on social media are basically raising them, and that's not a good spot to be in, especially when we tell them, don't bother me. I had a long day at work. If I hear any noise in that room, I'm going to come and take that tablet, and you're going to be on timeout or punishment. You can't teach a kid like that.
We have stooped to an all-time low in the United States of America and all around the world, but I can only speak where I am. We've stooped to an all-time low because we don't want to hear what we're talking about, Chazz. Let's be honest. We really don't want to hear it. We want people to sing to us. We want people to pray to us. We want people to shout. We want people to just do all these kinds of things and make us feel good. When you look at what's really going on, we have a lot of irresponsible people.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, just hanging in there right now. Okay, Brother Ray, we appreciate you for keeping it real with us. Sister Mashonda says life skills.
And that's true. That's so true. We've got to teach our children how to survive. That's one of the things that I teach people when they ask me about the school. They say, what is it in a nutshell? If you can boil down everything that you're teaching, they want to know in a nutshell. Don't give me this long drawn out dissertation. What are you teaching your children? And I tell them survival. They've got to know how to survive, and our kids don't know how to survive because they're not responsible. Teach them how to do things, teach them how to, as the sister says, life skills, things that's going to help them when they get out of school. But see, unfortunately, we are not into that right now.
Sister Nikita fires in here. She says, I was working at age 14, and it taught me how to save and be responsible. My daughter started working early as well. Husband and I started teaching our kids early to save and look for ownership, land, and property. That is really good to work at a young age, because a lot of us in this generation, now I'm not going to talk down on it, but it is true. We don't want to work. We want to sit at home and collect, these checks and not do anything at all. But this sister said she was working at the age of 14. So apparently her parents instilled in her how important it is to work, get off your behind, making your own money as much as you can, the correct and clean and proper way. And she said that she's also teaching her kids about land and property. These are things that are beneficial. It's essential. We need these things to survive and to sustain in life. So that is a well-rounded, good comment by Sister Nikita again.
Yeah, and I want to say, I know Sister Nikita. She's a beautiful woman. She's a lovely woman. She has a husband. She has children. They're grown men. She has grandchildren. And she's a family person. No, she's an actress. She does a lot of things in the community. She's always trying to help out. And this is some of the most profundity. This is the most profound statement that I have heard from her. I mean, it's very sagacious. Any word you can use that speaks of eloquence and loftiness in thought. I gotta give her props, because this is some beautiful stuff to my eyes, man, to read something like this, because unfortunately a lot of us don't think like this. We're not interested in teaching our kids how to respect people and how to be responsible, because these issues we're saying now is why we're not. And here's another one.
Number 8, improper upbringing, not having any values instilled in us. And I'll take a page off of Sister Nikita's book, like she just mentioned, just some basic things, teaching us to work, get up off your behind, make something of yourself. Now, if you can confined to a wheelchair, I'm not talking to you.
I got you.
But people who can work, get up, work, go make an honest living. Don't do anything that's going to jeopardize your life, like dealing drugs or things like that. Make an honest living. Be an honest man. Be an honest woman. But here's the thing. A lot of us don't have any good values instilled in us at a young age because our parents grew up that way. They were doing some of these things. They thought it was right. No one ever pulled them to the side and said, you know what, kinfolk, that ain't right. They kept living like this for years after years after years. So now when they have kids, they don't instill any positive things in them, and then their kids end up to be in a bad spot. So we have to have positive values instilled in us at a young age.
Chazz, I got to ask you a question, and I know we have some comments that we're going to get to, but I want to slow this train down, and I got to ask you this very serious question. Okay. Where are all the people that are talking now? I'm not putting you and I on a pedestal because we have our own flaws. So we have issues like everybody else. I'm just as immature as they come. I have a lot of responsibilities that I need to work on in my own life. So having said that, where are all the people, the adults? Because I don't expect children to lead us, as a lot of people think the kids should lead us. But where are all the adults, Chazz, that's talking like this? That's saying we are too old to be living like this. Our family members, our brothers and our sisters, we are too old to be living like little kids. Yeah. And we're not responsible, and we don't want to be responsible, and we're just going back and forth, and it's like we're 50 years old, 40 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, and we're still not doing what we're supposed to do, because when we were brought up, we didn't look at the values because there were no values instilled in us. And then when we got older, we act like we don't know right from wrong. So we just kept going on that improper balance, that road. And now look at how we are acting. So before you can clean up the community, because most of us talk about we need to clean up the community, and we do. We need to start doing these things. But before you do anything in a community, Chazz, you've got to go back to your own life and say, you know what? We've got to work on ourselves first.
Sister Barbara Foss in here. She says, kudos, Aunt Dot. Oh, okay. She's talking. Brother Ray fires in here. Brother Ray says the children stand where the parents stands.
He's right. He's absolutely right. Basically, all he's saying is just like the children were taught, the parents were taught. And this is why we have to have more discussions like this, because many parents, many of us parents, we have to look in the mirror at ourselves and say, I got to do something about my immaturity. I have to take responsibility. It's never too late. I don't care. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, you can teach him new tricks. Yeah, you can. You can teach her new tricks. So, we got to start looking at, as old as we are, we can still learn how to teach responsibility and how to be responsible ourselves. And this is why I believe we're having so many issues, because there's a lack of responsibility in our lives.
Sister Nikita fires in here. She says, yes, my parents were teens when I was born, so they wanted me to have a better start. Okay, well, that's good. I mean, like you said, at least that they instilled some of those ideas in you and the work value and a lot of other things that you mentioned earlier, and you took them to heart, and you actually said, these are important, and I'm going to do it as well. Because here's the side part. Some of the kids, brother, some of their parents have taught them well, but sometimes people got in their ear or told them, you know what, that ain't hitting on anything. Why are you being a square? Why are you being a lame? Those values and stuff mean nothing but to hold on to those principles and to say these are important and I'm going to dwell and make sure that they're in part of my life. That takes a strong person to actually want to finish with it, to complete them. Excuse me. Number 9, peer pressure. Feeling the need to fit in rather than improve. I'll let you take that and I'll piggyback.
And as you look at the bottom of this crawl, it says taking responsibility in the African American community. And we're saying we're going to talk about that next week, because we have to take care of responsibilities in our own lives first. That's the first thing we must do. And then when you look at peer pressure, we have many people who are feeling the need to fit rather than to improve. Now, we're not talking about kids, Chazz. We're talking about adults right at this point. Okay. We have a lot of adults that are interested in what we call internal growth. We have a lot of adults just talking, but they really want to fit in. They want to be like the Joneses. They want to be like their family members. They don't want to rock the boat. They listen to whatever people tell them. They never go in the house and tell these kids as they're growing up, or tell these parents, your child is a little bit too old to not be responsible. Your child should be old enough to be making up their bed. Your child should be cleaning up. Your child should be taking out the trash. See, we don't want to have these discussions, Chazz, and that's why I believe that we are struggling as a community, as a people, because when people talk like you and I and others who talk like this, people shun them, you see. People they rather fit in rather than to improve, and that's an indictment on all of us.
Yeah, and to me, peer pressure, you got to have a strong mind to withstand it, even as an adult, because it's easy to look around, see people doing all these things and say, you know what, since it's hot, it's popping, everybody's popular and they're doing it, I'm going to jump in and do it. But to say, you know what, I'm going to go across the grain, even though I want to fit in, I'm going to do the opposite, as long as it makes sense. I'm not saying do something stupid here, but I'm saying as long as it makes sense and you know that it's the right thing to do, you say, you know what, I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. Even though I want to, I'm going to have a lot of self-discipline. I'm going to refrain and do the opposite to try to improve my life, because I see the direction and the trajectory. If I go the opposite, it's going to send me spiraling down the drain. But you got to have a strong mind to withstand peer pressure, even as an adult, I'll admit. Number 10, low expectations. Being told they can't achieve much, so some of us stop trying. This goes back to the point we talked about earlier. All our lives, for the most part, people have constantly put us down, constantly dogging us out, not expecting much out of us. Some of the people who have had fathers and stuff who've been incarcerated, we say, you're going to be just like your daddy. He was going to get locked up for life. You're going to do the same thing. Y'all both ain't nothing, going to X, Y, and Z. These are things that make us think we can't achieve much. We see no hope around the community. We see no hope in the family. We see no hope at our schools. We see no hope at our jobs. So we don't expect much. And here's the sad part, brother. When you don't expect much, you start doing crazy things. You start doing things you have no business doing, because the bar is set so low, you don't even have a standard. So if you don't have a standard, you know where you're going, and you have to have more confidence and self-control and discipline to try to have positive expectations instead of always seeing yourself as low and you just, like you said on the section, you just stop trying that altogether.
And I want to say to all of the guests that's watching this broadcast, I want to say to all of you that we love you all. And this is some beautiful language that we're talking. And I just hope that you can take some truths and applications from what we're saying and put them into practice. But the thing I want to say to all of us, myself, Chazz, all of us included, is this: raise the bar. Raise the bar. The bar is so low, man. And this is why a lot of people listen to these kinds of conversations and they say, oh, man, that ain't moving me. Because their bar has been set so low, it doesn't take anything. So we stand for men treating women like crap instead of telling the women to be responsible and telling men to be responsible. We end up letting our children just accept the bare minimal. And sometimes I wonder, in relationships, which we're going to get to today, or if we don't, we'll start them next week. But I wonder, why is it that in some relationships, some of the women or men, they allow people to treat them like dung, like doo-doo. You know the real word I want to say. Why is that? It's because the bar is so low. They never got taught responsibility. They never was demonstrated responsibility. They never seen responsibility. And now what you have is a person who has low self-esteem, a weak person, a person who goes to a building to think there's something, but in their heart, man, we're struggling. And so this is why we have to talk like this. We have so many comments now, Chazz, so we may have to stop right here because this thing is getting really good now. We may have to stop right here if we want to address these comments, and we want to definitely talk about some of these comments. So let me go up and count them.
Okay.
And see what we're going to do here. Okay, so here we go. This is what Sister Nikita said.
She fires in here and says, both of our parents went on and graduated from college. That's good. That's good. And then she says, some are people pleasers too much. Yeah, and here's the thing. When you try to keep pleasing people 24/7, eventually you're going to get yourself sick. You're going to get yourself worn out. You're going to get yourself in the hospital because people are never going to be satisfied. 1 minute they're up, next minute they're down. So if you're constantly trying to please people, all you're going to do is just run yourself in the drain, run yourself in the gutter, run yourself in the ground. So not useless, Nikita. I'm just saying for people in general, we shouldn't be people pleasers because it's eventually going to backfire on us in the end.
Well, you know, when I was growing up, we didn't use these concepts. And I know what Sister Nikita is saying. Some people, they try to please people too much, not just please them, but she's saying too much. We call them brown nosers. And then if you want to get scut bucket, we call them A-kissers. Now, you know what they stand for. This is what they are. And this is what many people are today, man. We talk loud when we get around friends. But when our family members start this stuff, we don't want to say anything to them or their children. And so we have a lot of those A-kissers, man. And this is why responsibility has fled from many of us. There are many people in the African-American community that are responsible, you know, and they're just always teaching and preaching and talking about responsibility. But there's a whole lot of us, man, a whole lot of us, Chazz. We're not responsible. We don't want responsibility. All we want to do is, as one of our good friends said, live for the weekend. Living for the weekend.
That's well said. Brother Ray fires in here. He says to be a human is to have imperfections, yet we strive to know better day. Don't know what that is. Use them. Most parents dictate while giving an example.
He says, while not giving an example.
I'm sorry. And then he says, then the children can't wait to grow up and do the wrong thing like so many adults. I'll let you take it and I'll piggyback on this comment.
This is a great interjection here. It really is. This is a shot in the arm because he's right. He says we should strive to know better. And then he says most parents, they dictate while not giving an example. You never heard this. Don't do what I do. You do as I say. See, that's what he's saying. See, that's what we were brought up with. So we saw things, we didn't see things demonstrated. So when we became adults, we didn't know how to do it. And then when we got older, we couldn't wait to grow up because we knew that our parents was full of doo-doo and our relatives and other people who didn't show us the right way. So we didn't have responsibility. And that's why when a man and a woman meets or a boy and a girl meets, you always have a conflict because one of them is complaining that the other one isn't responsible. And that's because of their upbringing and because they weren't interested in being the best person or the best version of themselves. And he's right. we couldn't wait to get up to do the very wrong thing, just like our parents.
He also comments, fires back in here and says, good leaders are the examples. You can't lead if you're not taking the steps first. Absolutely. Good leaders. And here's the thing. A good leader doesn't have to say he's a good leader, because I hear this a lot. People all over TV. Oh, I'm a good leader. I'm a strong man and I'm a leader. You don't have to do it. Just lead by example, as he said. Keep your mouth shut. Show that you can do the right thing, even when no one is looking. Because, see, a lot of us want to lead when we know the cameras are around. We know our families are watching. Oh, yeah, we'll do the right thing then. But when the cameras are off and ain't nobody looking, we doing some of everything. So, like Brother Ray said, in a good light, be a good leader by example. Don't show off. Do it by example.
Just like in showbiz, when the spotlight's on you, you want to shine. But once they turn the spotlight off, you just doing whatever you want to do.
Right. Sister Barbara fires in here with some emojis, and she says, raise the bar. Absolutely. And Sister Nikita says, yep, would laugh out loud.
I want to go to another comment, but I want to wait because I want to say this. I want to go back to this one right here. This one here. I want to get this one. I want to take a shot at this one in a positive way.
Okay.
Now, that's easier said than done. Raise the bar. I've said it tonight, and I acknowledge my words don't mean anything to many people because that's hard to do. And here's what's going to really get you. Some of us don't know how to raise the bar. See, we say these things, but we don't know how to raise the bar. So to people that don't know how to raise the bar, when I say raise the bar, they look at me and scratch their head like, what is he talking about? I've got this bar raised as high as I can get it, but it's not 1 inch off the ground. So
wow.
Maybe we should do a broadcast on how to raise the bar. What are some practical things, as one of the sisters said, like teaching life skills is how to raise the bar. Not letting people treat you like you know what. That's how to raise the bar. Learning how to be independent. That's how to raise the bar. How to encourage your brothers and sisters who are struggling. That's how you raise the bar. Love your ancestors. Love your history. Love yourself. That's how you raise the bar. We can go on and on, but I'm saying we just have so much going on, man, that this discussion has to be had because responsibility has fled many of us.
Sister Barbara Pfizer here. She says, there are too many blank kissers in the Lord's house, yet they supposed to be living testimony. Okay.
She's trying to get me started. No, I'm not even going to bite on that because that's bait for me. See, that's really bait. And I'm really struggling right now because I want to start, but I'm gonna leave that one alone. But she knows that I'll go on a tangent on that, but I'm gonna leave that alone. But she's absolutely correct because I'm not even gonna start that. All I can do is go to the next one. That's all I can do.
Sister Mashonda fires in behind her, and she says loudly, teach that.
See, they pulling me. They pulling me in, Chazz. I don't want to get in this thing, but they're just luring me in because they know that I know, and that they know that many people that hold up an ankh, they hold up a cross, they hold up a crescent moon, they hold up all these symbols so people can think that there's someone, but in their hearts, the bar is so low that a worm is higher than them, that a snake is higher than them, that an insect is higher than them. These are the very people who want you to, like I asked a young lady to do something, and instead of them saying they're going to do it, they got to talk and confer with an invisible being. But either you're going to do it or you're not. So you're posturing. You want people to think you more than you are, but your heart is full of wickedness. Your heart is full of, as they call it, sin. Your heart is full of all of this nonsense, this corruption, this wickedness, this evilness, this malice, this greed. So, this hatred. so let me get off of that because she said teach that. So I think that's enough teaching on that. So let's go to something else because I'll be on that all night.
She also fires back in here. Sister Barbara says, spit, brother. Okay.
We better get back to some comments, Chad, because I don't want to get off the track because responsibility is something that we don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
We like to talk about sports. We like to talk about religion. We like to talk about entertainers. We like to talk about houses and material things, cars. We like to talk about people. But this subject here about responsibility, it's hot, Chaz. It's really hot. And when we get together as just men, if you notice when you go to people's homes or you're visiting, you never hear this conversation come up. It's never about how, as a group of people, we should be responsible, more responsible. See, we want to shuck and jive, as they said back in the day. They used to call those kind of people jive turkeys, man. It's a lot of that's all we are, jive turkeys, man.
Yeah, I've heard that saying before. So like you said, I mean, it's responsibility. It's something that we do need to take apart. In all of us, myself included, like I said, because I don't want people to think that I'm better or think that I have it all together. We all have aspects in our lives that we can improve, myself included, to take responsibility in trying to improve and become better, not for other people to recognize it, but for our own self and our own well-being.
Chaz, we got so many more points to talk about, but we don't have time. We do have about 10 minutes, but I think this may be a good stopping point only because we're going to, let's just keep running this thing. Let's keep going because this must run its course. We can't just go through things fast just to get through things as far as subject matter. But as crucial as this word is, taking responsibility in our lives before we can go in the African-American community, we may be on this thing for a month because as I see these notes, I thought we would get through most of them, but we haven't touched the surface yet. So I hope those people who are watching this will come back next week. Invite somebody. Invite somebody to come to this broadcast because we all need to hear this, Chaz. We really do. And I think sometimes we sell ourselves short because we don't like to talk about that which is important. Now, we'll tell you if somebody's coming to town, one of our favorite actors or actresses, or if there's some kind of movie, we're going to come. We want to tell you, you better get you a ticket. Our favorite band is coming to town.
We want Damon or somebody.
We want to sleep. We get our ticket and we sleep outside the night before. So but on something like this, we ain't studying it. And this is why I think we must continue to talk about this. And I just believe that responsibilities, we've got to slow it down again and just look at why are we not responsible? What are some of the reasons that we are not as responsible as we should be? We keep complaining about what people are doing to us. Every week we say, this person is doing that. These people are doing that. When are we going to stand up and do for ourselves? That's what me and Kevin were talking about last night. When are we going to take our own historical lessons that our ancestors taught us and apply them? When people were against them, when are we going to make sure that our legacy stand? No matter what they do in the White House, no matter what they do in the schools, no matter what they do at our workplaces, when are we going to start taking up the mantle of taking individual responsibility for ourselves? That's the question that I have to ask, and I want to keep asking that because I just don't see it, Chaz. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't see it as much as well, and not to hold myself or yourself up to a high standard. I don't see it as much as well. And like you said, as individuals, we have to raise the bar. We have to become better. We have to take these things, not that we're taking shots at anyone or not that we're trying to be critical or negative. These are things that we need to just improve in general, especially in the African-American community. We see what's going on. We see all this stuff around us, and it's like we're so wrapped up in our own world, in our own lane, we look the other way or put our head in the sand and act like nothing is going on. But we have to, like you said, raise the bar.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we're honest with ourselves. And this is where it all comes back to. We must be honest with ourselves. Now, I can sit here all day and all night. I can tell you what you want to hear. I can make you think that I'm this guru. I can make you think that I walk on water. I can make you think that my stuff doesn't stink. But in my heart, Chaz, in my heart, even if I've deceived you, I know I'm no good. I know I'm not a responsible person. And that's why we have to do that, man.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, great leaders, create great leaders. Good parents create more great family members.
That's
absolutely. It's setting the tone, meaning if you have a great leader, 9 times out of 10, they're going to show and create, younger leaders. And even with the family, our parents and our great grandparents, if they were good, normally 9 times out of 10, they're going to create by the teachings, by the philosophies, and just all these kind of things to help become better people. So he is spot on. It's basically setting the standard or the tone very high and leading by example.
And I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to piggyback off of it because if you really think about it, most of the people that are demonstrating responsibility, I bet you 99% of those people had someone in their life that taught them the importance of responsibility. I'm willing to bet my life on that. These are the types of people who, as he said, they created these leaders. They didn't just get them, they came out of their mother's womb and they went their own way and all of a sudden they became great. They had it demonstrated. They had discipline. They had self-respect. They had all of these concepts that we talk about. This is why many men and women should flock to their cell phones Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time to listen to a broadcast like this called Adults Only, because this is what is called an adult conversation. But see, Chazz, we got to continue to be just strong-willed, and we have to be honest, and we have to put these things out here like this, because I'm telling you, man, some other people are doing it too, but we need more kinds of discussions like this, because it's at a point now where we just don't care anymore, and that's why we are the way we are.
Wow, and that's got to be a terrible spot to be in, like what you just said. When you don't care anymore, it's a terrible spot to be in, because things just start getting out of control. You start doing things that you shouldn't do. You stop believing in the things that you once believed in, and in fact, you just throw your hands up and sometimes just lay down and don't do anything at all. When you at that point, all kind of chaos and turmoil is going on. So you don't want to get in that spot. You got to try to, like they said, keep your head up and don't be so defeated and quitting so much.
I'm going to ask you a question, Chazz, because you always asking questions to me and you always throwing things on a percentage. You always giving out stats. I want to ask you a question and just think about it here before you answer. But my question is simple, and here it is.
Okay.
How many or what percentage of African Americans, we know you don't know, but I just want to know what you think. What percentage of African American adults, not children, would you say are responsible? What do you say?
Let's see here. I say it's about 40%. What would you say?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same ballpark, but I'm a little lower than that. But this shows that there's a problem.
Yeah.
See, we have had so much happen to us as a people, and I don't think that we've recovered, because we're not made like that. We don't want to look at, I have to be responsible. In fact, since all these things have happened to me, I got to be more responsible now.
Yes.
I got to teach my children about racism. I got to teach my children about sexism. I got to teach them to be responsible when it comes to bigotry. I got to teach my children how to be responsible when it comes to economics, when it comes to history. See, and this is where our problem is. We always complain, and we should, because complaining is a part of life, especially when we have a legitimate complaint. But a lot of times, Chazz, that's all we do is we just bellyache, man. That's all we do.
Brother Ray Firestone here. He says, whatever you expect from your children you should require for yourself. Absolutely. And the things that, if you do have children that you should require, 9 times out of 10, they aren't much. And he's saying that if you can require these things from them, you should automatically and already be doing that yourself. And that's not asking. And here's the thing, not Brother Ray, I'm just saying in general, when the bar is set so low where whatever we require from our children, if we can't even expect that out of ourselves, then we've totally missed it, and it's something very, very bad that's going on. But we appreciate his comment in as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna say my little goodbyes, and I'll let Chazz close us off. I can't wait till next week, because it's gonna be so exciting. We have so much more to do. We have so much more to talk about. We have so much to share with the people that we love. And I hope people understand that we come in a heart of compassion, and we come with application. We understand and we know, brothers and sisters. We realize that we're living in tough times.
Yeah.
We live in times where people don't respect each other. They don't respect themselves. They don't want to watch broadcasts and podcasts that talk about upliftment. They rather see entertainment. They rather see sports. They rather talk about religious concepts that have basically left them. So I'm saying tonight, this has been a beautiful way for us to just kind of share with you, and that you share with us.
Yeah.
We're all in this thing together. And I just wish that we tell someone about this broadcast, not for Chazz's sake, for my sake, but because the information is so pertinent. Because you can't live a life where you don't talk about what's important. And what's important in our lives is responsibility. Yeah. So I'm going to sign off now and say, I thank you all. I'm going to let Chazz take us home when we get done saying goodbye. We're out. So I'm going to see you all next week. And I hope you have a wonderful, whatever's left of the evening that you're in. Take care of yourselves and think about these concepts we talked about and do something about them and make sure that application is applied to you. Chazz, take us home.
Appreciate you for having me on. We appreciate Sister Mashonda's her comments. And Shimotep Rose and Brother Ray fired in here. He said, love to me and the other co-host here. He says, just love and respect to you, brothers. We appreciate you for logging in, Brother Ray. But tonight was a good broadcast. Tonight was about responsibility, especially in the African-American community. Why is the bar set so low? Why do we not see ourselves as human beings? Why is there so much trauma and chaos that we refuse to let go of? We're just dwelling in it. We're not getting better. In fact, all the trauma that we've dealt with makes us just want to quit on life and say, you know what, I've had enough. I'm tapping out of this thing called life. I'm done with it. But that's not what you should do. We gave you some good pointers. If you missed this broadcast, please watch it on the replay. It'll be posted once I get done talking here. But it was just about responsibility, being responsible, admitting your mistakes, telling people when you're wrong, and not always thinking that you have the solutions to everything as well. Once again, I appreciate all the comments, the people who logged in for an hour. Sister Nikita, all of you, Sister Marie, everybody. I appreciate you guys logging in. And once again, we hope you tune in next week to finish up this good dialogue and discussion. I've enjoyed myself. You guys have a good night. Take care.